Halloween is a time for spooky fun, creative costumes, and maybe a little too much candy. It's a night of make-believe scares where we delight in the thrill of the pretend and the fantastic. But sometimes, in the most unexpected and tragic ways, the line between festive fantasy and grim reality can blur. Tonight, we're not talking about ghost stories or horror movie plots. We're looking at real-life events where the celebration of Halloween took a dark and irreversible turn. These are stories of accidents and unforeseen circumstances that led to some of the most tragic Halloween deaths ever recorded. It's a somber reminder to always prioritize safety, even when you're caught up in the fun. So, turn down the lights and let's delve into these cautionary tales from Halloween's past. Our first story takes us back to 1982 in a small town in Michigan. It involves a young man named Brian Jewell, who was just 17 years old. Like many teens on Halloween, Brian and his friends decided to pull a prank. Their idea was to create a classic Halloween scene, a fake hanging. They chose a tree in the front yard of a home where a party was being held. The plan was to use a harness to make it look realistic but safe. Brian, dressed in costume, put the noose around his neck, ready for the big scare. But in a horrifying twist of fate, something went terribly wrong. As his friends hoisted him up, the harness failed. The prank became a real-life tragedy in an instant. By the time his friends realized what was happening and got him down, it was too late. Paramedics arrived, but they couldn't revive him. It was a prank that ended with the ultimate, irreversible consequence, leaving a community in shock and a group of friends haunted by a single, catastrophic moment of misjudgment. Next, we travel to Frederica, Delaware, on Halloween night in 2005. This story involves a 42-year-old woman named Elizabeth Betsy Rose. She was known in her community for her elaborate Halloween displays. That year, she decided to create a very realistic and shocking scene for passers-by. She staged a display that looked like a woman had been hanged from a tree. She used a dummy and other props to make it as convincing as possible. After setting it up, she positioned herself nearby, likely to get a kick out of people's reactions. But the night took a grim turn. Later that evening, she was found lifeless, entangled in the very ropes she had used for her display. Authorities were called to the scene after neighbors saw her hanging from the tree, motionless for a long time. At first, many thought it was just part of the hyper-realistic prank. It wasn't until they got closer that the horrifying truth became clear. The official investigation concluded that her death was accidental. It's believed she may have slipped from the ladder or somehow got tangled in the ropes while adjusting the display, leading to a fatal accident. Her attempt to create a memorable Halloween scare tragically became her own final act. Now, let's turn our attention to a story that serves as a powerful reminder about the importance of safety with costumes and props. This one takes place in the Bronx, New York in 1990. A 13-year-old boy named Michael had an exciting Halloween plan. He was going to dress up as a classic movie monster. His costume included chains, which he planned to rattle for dramatic effect. He and his friends went to a haunted house attraction, a place designed for thrills and chills. During the experience, Michael got separated from his friends in the dark. He found himself in an area with a mock gallows, a prop meant to add to the spooky atmosphere. In a tragic and bizarre accident, Michael somehow became entangled in the noose of the gallows. It's believed he may have been trying to scare other patrons by pretending to be part of the exhibit. Because it was a haunted house, other visitors who saw him initially thought his struggles were just part of the show. No one realized he was in genuine distress. It was a heartbreaking case of reality being mistaken for performance, and by the time anyone understood the gravity of the situation, it was too late. This incident led to major safety reviews for haunted attractions across the country. Our next story is from North Carolina in 2011, and it highlights a different kind of Halloween danger: impaired judgment. A 21-year-old college student named Taylor was attending a Halloween party. He was dressed in a zombie costume, and as part of the fun, he and his friends were acting out their roles. As the night went on, the group became more boisterous. Witnesses reported seeing Taylor stumbling in and out of traffic on a busy highway near the party, perhaps as part of his zombie act. Tragically, a car traveling down the highway was unable to stop in time. Taylor was struck and killed. The driver, who was understandably distraught, was not found to be at fault. This incident is a stark reminder of the dangers that can arise when festive celebrations involve alcohol or impaired decision-making, especially near busy roads. A night that started with costumes and fun ended in a completely preventable tragedy, leaving family and friends to mourn a life cut short. It underscores how critical it is to stay aware of your surroundings, no matter how caught up you are in the holiday spirit. Let's move to another incident, this time in Queens, New York. In 1995, this case is particularly chilling because it was not an accident, but a case of mistaken identity with fatal consequences. A 13-year-old boy named Kevin was out trick-or-treating with his friends. He was wearing a dark hooded costume. As they walked through their neighborhood, they were suddenly targeted by a group of older teens. Tragically, Kevin was mistaken for a member of a rival group that one of the assailants had a conflict with. In the confusion and darkness, fueled by a pre-existing feud that had nothing to do with Kevin, he was attacked. He suffered fatal injuries and his life was tragically cut short over a simple, terrible mistake. His attackers later admitted they had targeted the wrong person, believing the costume hid the identity of their intended rival. It's a heartbreaking story about how a child's innocent night of fun was destroyed by violence that wasn't even meant for him. This incident serves as a somber reminder of the dangers that can lurk even in familiar neighborhoods, and how costumes can sometimes obscure identity in the worst possible ways. The final story we'll discuss is one of the most infamous and tragic Halloween incidents in American history. It happened in Pasadena, Texas, in 1974. Ronald Clark O'Brien, a man who had come to be known as the Candyman, took his 2 children trick-or-treating. Later that night, his 8-year-old son, Timothy, complained of a stomach ache after eating a piece of Pixie Stix candy. His condition rapidly worsened, and he passed away on the way to the hospital. An autopsy revealed the candy had been laced with a fatal dose of cyanide. At first, fear gripped the nation, with parents terrified of tainted Halloween treats. But the police investigation soon uncovered a sinister plot. Ronald O'Brien was deeply in debt and had recently taken out large life insurance policies on his children. He had poisoned the candy himself and even gave other laced candies to 4 other children, including his own daughter, to make it look like the work of a random madman. Fortunately, none of the other children ate the poisoned candy. O'Brien's motive was purely financial. He was willing to sacrifice his own son for money. He was convicted of murder and executed in 1984. This case forever changed Halloween, ushering in an era of caution, with parents meticulously checking candy and many communities opting for trunk-or-treat events as a safer alternative. These stories are undoubtedly heavy, and they cast a dark shadow on a holiday that is meant to be joyful. They remind us that behind the masks and decorations, the real world, with all its potential for accidents and its capacity for darkness, still exists. The lesson here isn't to be afraid of Halloween, but to be mindful. Be mindful of your surroundings, be safe with your costumes and props, and most importantly, look out for one another. A little bit of caution can ensure that the only scares you experience are the fun kind. Thank you for joining me for this somber but important look at Halloween tragedies. Stay safe out there and make sure your holiday is filled with happy memories. If you found this video insightful, please consider liking and subscribing for more content. We'll see you in the next one.